Today we will be reading Razia's Ray of Hope, One Girl's Dream of an Education. This was written by Elizabeth Sunby and illustrated by Susanna Varelist. If someone has a ray of hope, what does that mean? What are some times a person might feel a ray of hope? One Girl's Dream of an Education is the subtitle. The main story is a story of, or the main character of the story is Razia. She is fictional, but the story happens in real places, a village in Afghanistan, and it talks about a real situation for many girls there. What do you think might give Razia a ray of hope in this story? So take a look at the cover and see what you think. Today, our read aloud is brought to us by Fountas and Pinnell with permission from Heinemann Publishing. My cousins and I raced down the road to see what the excitement was about. Men and women are gathering around the empty lot in our village. Anytime we played in that lot, I'd found shards of clay tiles and not much else. This dirty ribbons brightened the dry earth. Important-looking adults were lying a large stone on the ground, and women passed out chocolates wrapped in shiny papers. My little sister Zara and I collected as many as we could and stuffed them in our pockets before asking for more. My grandfather spotted us and walked over. I hung my head, afraid that he would scold us for taking more than our share of candy. Instead, Babaji pointed proudly to the large cornerstone. This is where my school once stood. I knew Babaji had gone to school. I loved hearing his stories about learning to read and write and calculate numbers. It sounded so exciting. What happened to it? Asked my cousin Hamid. Babaji looked at the ground. It was destroyed by 17 years of war. But what happened today? I asked. The Nowruz celebrations are over. They are building a new school for girls, said Babaji. A school for girls? Every night I fell asleep dreaming about going to school like my brothers. Please, Babaji, asked Baba and Aziz. If I may go, I must go. That evening, like most evenings, I sat by my brother, Jamil and Karim, and they studied by lantern light. They attended the boys' school in the next village. Baba, my father, worked on our farm with my uncles and cousins. My two eldest brothers, Aziz and Ahmed, worked at the quarry cutting stones. They never wanted to go to school. Like us girls, they could not read or write. Jamil, may I have a piece of your paper, I asked. Why do you need paper? You don't have homework. You can't even write, said Karim. Yes, I could write. I had memorized the Dari alphabet and could spell my name, but I was afraid to tell my brother. What if they wouldn't let me sit with them? I kept quiet. Whenever I found a Babaji alone, I would whisper in his ear, have you spoken to Baba and Yaziz yet? I will, my dear Razia. Babaji would say as he patted my head, it was always, I will. So I turned to my mother for help. Bibi, have you seen what they are building in the empty lot? Babaji says it will be a school for girls. Yes, I know, Bibi answered as she hurried me and Zara to join our cousins. They were on their way to the village tandoor to bake naan for dinner. I took my sister's hand. Please, Bibi, I wanted to go to school. Girls from our village are registering. Girls from our other villages too. Sarah told me when we played hopscotch yesterday. Bibi handed us our dough and shooed us out of the door. I called back, I need to learn to read and write, Bibi. I promise to teach you. Please, talk to Baba and Aziz. I will, said Bibi. She sounded just like Baba G. Months passed, and I watched the school rise brick by brick from the dirt, but neither Bibi nor Baba G had ever had an answer. At the beginning of March, the construction crew covered the bricks with a white stucco that made the new school shine in the sunlight. They painted the doors red, as bright as the flames of the tandoor. Each morning as I swept the courtyard, I heard girls chatter about the nice women who started the school and teachers from Kabul. Each afternoon as I fetched water from the well, I saw girls on their way home from registration, carrying crisp new school uniforms over their arms. One night as I lay on my mattress, I heard Baba G call my father, brother, and uncle to the family meeting. I propped myself up to catch every word of their talk. Baba G started the Jirga. Raziz wants to attend the new girls' school in the village. I support her desire. Some of you are too young to remember, and some of you were not even born. But before the occupation of our country, before the Civil War, and before the Taliban women in Afghanistan were educated, they were doctors, government workers, and journalists. It is time that we give our daughters and our granddaughters in Day Subs the chance to read and write. Our family and our country will be stronger for it. I couldn't believe my ears. Would I be allowed to go to school? The Jirga continued. It was Uncle Iqbal's turn to speak. Our girls need to help their mothers at home. We need Razia to work in the orchards too. Uncle Ali added, our trees are just coming back after years of drought, and Razia harvests almonds and peaches faster than any of us. Razia can complete her chores before and after school. That will be the condition of her enrollment, Baba Gia replied. Next, you'll want Raziz to go into town and shop by herself, said my father, wrinkling his forehead, or for women to shed their barkas in public. My brother, Ahmed, added. My brother, Aziz, ended the Jirga. Razia is not going. Those 4 simple words made my heart sink. The next morning, I woke with the sun to practice my reading. For under my pillow, I took out scraps of newspaper that the baker wrapped around our freshly baked naan. Even if I couldn't go to school, I was determined to be the kind of woman Baba G had described, a woman who helped others through her work inside and outside her home. After my morning chores, I walked to the school. I passed stone wall being built around the school grounds, and I knocked on the bright red door. A woman opened it and greeted me with a smile. Hello, my name is Razia Jan. Can I come in, please? I entered a different world. Fresh white hallways, clean classrooms with desks, chalkboards, books, papers, and pencils, all in one place. It was unbelievable. I introduced myself. My name is Razia too. I want to come to your school, but my brother and father will not give me permission. I told Razia Jan what I've overheard at the Jirga. Razia Jan offered to come home with me and speak to Baba G. Maybe together they could convince the other men to let me attend the school. As soon as Razia Jan and I arrived, I ran off to find Baba G. Baba G, the Malin Shabia from the new girls' school is here to speak to you. Please come greet her. Bring Baba and Bibi. I spoke a mile a minute so as not to waste any time. Baba G didn't look surprised to learn I had gone to the school on my own. He and Razia Jan spoke privately for several minutes. Then Baba G excused himself to find my father and mother. I stayed out of sight when the three returned to speak to Razia Jan. Razia Jan thanked my family for their time. Then she described how her school would teach Dari English, Pashto, math, health, and hygiene for young girls. As the girls got older, the school would teach them how to read the Quran, as well as geography, science, history, and algebra. Razia Jan also explained how her school would provide textbooks and new uniforms and healthy lunches for all the students. Best of all, she said the school would be free. Baba sounded surprised to hear about everything the school would provide. He told Razia Jan he would speak with my brother Aziz when he returned from the quarry. But just then, Aziz walked in. Babaji spoke up. Aziz, I did not realize you were home. Razia Jan turned and introduced herself and her school. She knew Aziz was the one to convince. I ask you for your tolerance, if not support, for Razia's education. Please consider if the men are the backbone of Afghanistan, then the women are the eyes of the country. Without an education, we are all blind. Aziz shook Razia Jan's hand and walked out of the room. I followed him. Aga Jan, why are you home so early? Are you feeling sick? I asked. His face was pale and sweaty. Yes, I have a fever. My body aches all over. I have stopped for medicine on my way home, but I need Karim or Jamil to read the directions for me. Please get some water. Aziz closed his eyes. I poured a glass of water and brought it to Aziz. While he dozed, I picked up the medicine bottle and slowly sounded out the directions. I looked up and saw Aziz watching me. How do you know how to read? He asked. I listened to Jamil and Karim study every night, I said, counting out his pills according to the directions. Please, Aga Jan, please let me go to school. I will be able to help the family even more if I do. Aziz took his medicine and smiled. Then he went back to rest without uttering a word. Only a couple days remained before Nowruz and the opening of the girls' school. I sat on the stoop scrubbing potatoes for the evening soup. If I could not attend school, I would ask my friends to share with me what they had learned every day. They would be second best, yet far from perfect. As I picked up the last potato, I heard Aziz approach. Razia, he said. I peeled the potato quickly to avoid his gaze. I've reconsidered. I learned this morning that stones from my quarry are being used to build a wall around the girls' school. Aziz paused. I did not move or make a sound. Now I trust that you will be safe in that building, my precious sister. You may attend Razia Jan's school. I couldn't contain myself. I leapt up and threw my arms around Aziz. I promised to stay clear of danger. Thank you, Agan Jan. But you must complete your household chores before and after classes, Aziz continued. I will not let you down, Agan Jan. Thank you. Soon after my family celebrated Nowruz in the orchard, we picnicked under the almond blossoms that were the first bloom of spring and now the sign of new school year. On the first day of school, Razia Jan greeted all the students at the gates of the Zabuli Education Center. Salam alaikum, welcome. She patted each of us in the back and we walked through the bright red door of our beautiful new school. I was led to the 3rd grade classroom. My teacher introduced herself and then asked each of us to say our name and what we wanted to be when we grew up. My friend Sarah threw her hand up first. Malim Shabia, my name is Sarah, and I want to be an engineer when I grow up. What's an engineer? Marwa blurted out without being called upon. I am too young to know that, but when I become one, I will tell you all about it, Sarah explained. Ralia waved her arms, and our teacher picked her next. I am Raila, and I want to be a doctor. I will build a clinic in our village and treat all the children for free. I spoke last. Malim Shabia, I have always dreamed of being a teacher, and I promised my mother and my oldest brother Aziz that I will practice on them.